Welcome back. Today we're going to jump into the lab portion of the login blocking lesson. I've got the network that we're going to be using here on this slide. Really simple, 3 routers, 3 serial connections. The IP addressing you should be familiar with by now. This does show the loopback interfaces. We're not going to use those because I'm not even going to run routing on this. We're just going to use the directly connected interfaces to access the routers. We're going to configure login blocking on R2, and then later on we're going to actually make R1 a trusted router. We're going to allow logins from R1, and R3 will be our untrusted router. That's why this guy's in a devilish red. He's going to be our bad boy. So like I said, not too much going on here. It's not that complicated. Let's go ahead and jump into the CLI. Alright, let's get started here. I'm going to jump over to R2, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to configure a username password combination, and then I'm going to set up the VTY lines to use this username password combination for Telnet and any other logins that come in via the VTY line. Okay, so what I've done here is I've set up the username Cisco Jim with the password of Cisco. I've also created the enable password of Cisco. Not really going to use it that much during this lab, but it's just something that I'm, I guess, force a habit. But the meat of what we're doing here is underneath the VTY lines, going to say I'm going to force people to log in, and when they log in, I want them to use a local username password database to validate that login. So when somebody logs in, they're going to use the username Cisco Jim and the password Cisco in order to get access to the router. If they have to go into enable mode, they will use the password of Cisco. Not very safe, but for a lab environment, it's good enough. Okay, let's get out of configuration mode here with the Control Z, and I already have the clock set. What I did earlier was I went ahead and set the clock. We'll do that again here, just because we want our timestamps to actually have some significance other than like March 1st, 2001. I'm going to go ahead and use the clock set command, and we'll make it noon on Christmas. If I could spell December. Ember. Oh, God. 2010. All right. And we can verify that with the show clock. And there you go. So the other thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear out the log just in case there's anything in there. And now pop over to R1. And what I want to do is I want to verify that I can actually telnet over to R2. So first we're just going to ping it. Okay, we can ping it. I'm going to up arrow and then Control A to get that cursor back towards the beginning there and just change that that ping into a telnet. Okay, so we telnetted in, and it's prompting us for username password. I'm going to do this twice. The first time I'm going to log in with bad user, and then just anything for the password. So the router thinks about it and says, hey, I don't have anybody with the username bad user, so yeah, you can't get in. So now let's go ahead and log in with the appropriate credentials, and there we are. So we're on R2. We're telnetted from R1 to R2 right now. I'm going to go ahead and log out, get us back to R1, pop over to R2. And the reason I did this is I just want to do a show log real quick, and notice that nothing's logged. So we had somebody try to log in with a bad username, but that was not logged. So now let's a couple things before we get into configuring the login blocking. First thing I want to do is go ahead and do a show login. And I apologize. Going forward, I use SH for show. Hopefully it's not that confusing. But I try during these videos not to truncate the commands. But SH is just second nature to me. So I mean, if you can't figure out that SH is show, you might not want to be pursuing a career in network engineering. So anywho, here's what's going on here. We've got the show login. So it says no login delay has been applied. That's correct. No quiet mode access list has been configured. That's correct too. But here's the important thing. So this is what you're going to see when login blocking has not been enabled at all. And the most important thing here is router not enabled to watch for login attacks. And that will change once we get our login blocking cooking. And the other thing I wanted to show you was show list. And we can see there are no access lists configured on this router. Let's get cooking with the login block configuration. Go ahead and quickly clear the screen. And go into configuration terminal mode. And let's go ahead and what I wanted to do. The example that we had on the slides, we're going to use that example on R2. And what I had here was configure R2 so that 5 seconds must elapse between each login attempt. Also ensure that if there are 3 unsuccessful login attempts within a 1-minute period, that all subsequent login attempts are blocked for a period of 30 seconds. All successful and failed attempts to read my own fucking writing shall be recorded for posterity on this video. All successful and failed login attempts should be logged to R2. Okay. So for the configuration, let's go ahead and start with our basic. Really, this is the only command that you need for login blocking, and it's the login block for command. And we're going to use our handy dandy Cisco iOS help, aka the question mark. So we can see the way that this command is structured, that it's going to ask for first the amount of time in seconds that you're going to have the quiet mode run for. And just a quick review, the quiet mode is the time that the router is in its basically blocking mode, when it says, you know, I've detected a potential attack and I'm going to go ahead and start blocking subsequent login attempts. So in the example that we have here, we wanted to do this for 30 seconds. And next is the attempts. And we said that if it fails 3 times within a minute, we're going to invoke that quiet period. So the final thing is a within, and that's, you know, that's pretty easy. 3 attempts within 1 minute. This is where your question mark iOS help comes in handy dandy. Handy dandy. Can't believe I'm saying handy dandy. Okay. But again, this is going to be a period of time measured in seconds. So we were told to have this period be set to 1 minute. And this is where you can stumble. If you just hit, you know, 1 thinking this is in minutes, then you've now said that the attempts must be 3 attempts failed within 1 second. So just keep your measurements clear. And so CR, that means that we can hit enter. So now we have really simple, basic login blocking configured. And I'm going to go ahead and do show login. And for those that don't know, if you're in configuration mode and you issue the do statement, what that's going to do is say, go ahead and act like I'm in just, you know, regular user mode, enable mode, and issue this show login. It's saying this is not something I want entered as a configuration item. This is something I want as a show command. So you can see show command outputs from configuration mode. Get it out. Okay, here we go. So yeah, we can see we got a lot of change from what we had earlier. If we scroll back up, that's probably still on there. So earlier when we had this, yeah, it says basically nothing's going on. We'll get some output, but it's basically telling you you don't have login blocking configured. Now we got tons of information, and we can see. Remember in the theory video that if you do not specify a login delay, it will use a default of 1 second, and we can see that that's true here.